His Excellency George Natembeya. Thank you so much for making time for us, Governor. So, Governor, will this strategy work this time? The 3-day ultimatum for disarmament and the deployment of KDF?
I hope so. I hope so. Because where we are is only the military that can deal with this problem. What I want to assure Kenyans that within those 3 days, very few people will surrender firearms, if at all, because each community will be waiting for the other one to surrender first. And those that will be surrendering firearms are those that have got many. Maybe I've got 6, then you surrender one, which is most useless. For me, I'm looking forward to the start of the actual operation.
Governor, during your time as the regional commissioner, how come all the strategies you deployed never worked? The peace caravans never worked, the disarmament never worked, the police reservists never managed to quell this banditry?
They never worked because they were made not to work. Every single strategy that I put in place, including disarmament, was not allowed to take effect. As a regional commissioner, I don't take decisions unilaterally. You have to get approvals from your bosses at around the house. We had meetings, including even with political leaders at around the house. Some of them, like in Samburu, even we agreed on the date that the operation was supposed to commence. The date came and went. There was no word from around the house. So no single strategy worked. As a matter of fact, the government, even at a point, decided to disarm all NPRs and opened up that L for the proliferation of illicit firearms. Peace caravans normally come after maybe an operation or after something terrible has happened. It's not supposed to be an end-all strategy. And those people don't listen to those peace caravans. Politicians love them because they just buy time. By the way, I looked at the body language of those leaders that the president was addressing today. 3/4 of them were fidgeting. That should tell you something.
What should that tell me, Governor?
He was addressing culprits. People who financed this thing were sitting in that meeting. Not all of them. I know guys like McClap are victims. Even the colleague from Turkana South, these are victims. But I can tell you, I know many of those guys who are there. They are now worried what's going to happen to their people. What are they going to tell their people when they say that elect me and I'm going to protect you, that your guns will not be taken? What are they going to tell them after 3 days? Those fellows are worried. And are part of the bigger problem. Lack of leadership, firm leadership, a leadership that looks for the best interests of the people, long-term interests, not just short-term political interests.
When you say that the leaders are part of the problem, are you saying that they are the ones fostering this banditry, or is this a cultural practice or a criminal business enterprise?
When did you hear a leader condemn their community after a raid? That maybe the Turkana have raided the Pokot, and we hear a Turkana leader condemn his kinsmen for doing that. Or we hear a Pokot leader, after their community have committed an atrocity, for them to come out and say, this one is wrong, you've done wrong. When was the last time did you hear that? Of course, it's also a commercial enterprise, because people funding these activities, some of them are living, most of them actually are living in Nairobi. They just provide support. These criminals are well facilitated. Who gives them food when they're living like Hyper Nature Conservancy for 2-3 months? Who gives them food? Who gives them other accessories? Who provides ammunition to these people? It's a larger problem that we are dealing with, and from where I sit, I want to believe that the president is well briefed, that he appreciates the enormity of the challenge, and that he's going in with a firm resolve to solve this problem once and for all. And even to avoid the leadership challenges in this operation, I think the military should take the lead role. Let the others just provide support. Otherwise, if you just go there and say the military and the police, they're going to share that place into sectors. They can say that Samburu, the military is in charge, Turkana, the police, and they'll just be blamed. We've done our bit, you've not done your bit. Let one, like now, when it's a multi-agency operation, the military is there, That is the bigger brothers. Let them take the lead role. Let the others, including civilian authorities like the chiefs and the Sun chiefs, provide supportive role, and we are going to end this menace.
But Governor, during your time as the RC, how come these leaders you're saying were never arrested?
They were arrested.
But what happened?
Those leaders were arrested, you can check, but the cases went nowhere. They were arrested, they politicized the cases. You know, and then again, the people who are supposed to provide evidence to the police, again, these leaders are the beneficiaries of these political leaders' activities. He's our son. He gave us guns, he gave us ammunition. You know he did that. You are the only witness. They never come out to record statements. How do you take somebody to court without evidence, without anybody writing a statement saying the member of parliament came to this particular place and gave us ammunition? Yeah, the threshold is high. So they walk and continue committing these atrocities.
Where do these animals go, Governor? During your time as the RC, where did you find out that the animals are taken to?
You guys eat these animals in Nairobi. And this one is a statement of fact. I'm not speculating. Because if 1,000 animals are stolen from the Chamus, and they are taken to Laikipia Nature Conservancy, for instance, 1,000 animals, not a joke. They will open a road where they have passed. They open a serious road, you can see it. But somehow they disappear in thin air. We even gave instructions that no animal should be transported after 6 p.m. And we instruct our police officers to man roadblocks from Nairobi, from Baringo all the way to Nairobi. But these cartels, no, they'll know who's on the roadblock. They carry money and compromise everybody. You go to the Dagoret slaughterhouse, try to look for the horns of those animals that are slaughtered there. You'll not find any, because people identify the animals using the horns. Utapata ngozi, utapata pembe. These animals are eaten by the good people of Nairobi. You are funding bandit in the Rift Valley.
Yeah, but Governor, you were saying earlier on that your efforts to stop this was frustrated and they were made not to work. How are you frustrated?
Yeah. As I began by saying, when I went to the Rift Valley, I said I was going to be the last regional commissioner to talk about banditry. I was very enthusiastic with a lot of gusto. And I mobilized all security agencies, all my officers all the way from Turkana to Baragoi, and even had a meeting with the commanders in Eldoret KVDA. And I told them that, guys, let us suffer for 2-3 months. But let nobody else who comes after us suffer the way you have suffered. And people were agreed, and we agreed in one resolve that we're not going to ask from the government any allowances whatsoever. All we asked for was to get area support, and that we have enough fuel, we have enough vehicles, and most importantly, that we are given the authority to go ahead to move in. We divided the North Rift into sectors, and my commanders were ready. They said, let them die, but they'll die protecting Kenyans. We were never given that approval. You brief the PS, and then it just ends there. Next time you call, they don't pick your call. People are killed, you call, nobody picks your call. How is it supposed to work? As I was saying, for the 3 years I was asked Rift Valley, I spoke to His Excellency the President Uhuru Kenyatta more times than I spoke to my PS. So in that kind of circumstances, how do you succeed? You don't have fuel, you don't have vehicles, the officers are completely demoralized. Someone just woke up one day and said, officers in the operation area should not be paid house any allowance whatsoever. Hardship allowance, nothing. The salaries they are paid, the same salary that the traffic officer in Shaurimoyo, Nairobi, is paid. There's no food. Officers are given food. Food is procured centrally in Nairobi. You know, like you buy cabbages in Molo. You're an asked officer is taken to the headquarters in Gilgil, then is transported to Kapedo, and yet you can get cabbages in Baringo. But there's somebody with vested interest procuring these cabbages. By the time these cabbages land in Kapedo, they are rotten. You expect that policeman to fight banditry? How? And we raised all these things. Even look at the command structure. As an RC, you are held responsible for all these things. You are just the chair of the security committee in the region. The thing that we discuss, sometimes the police are supposed to implement, but somehow somebody was not invent that meter, it ends there. So these are the challenges that we face, and when I said they didn't work, it's not because that I, as the chairman of the Regional Security Committee, did not do my part. I did my part, and I wanted to end that menace, but I wasn't allowed to end it.
But, Governor, were you allowed at some point to advise in terms of the military personnel or the personnel, the officers who are deployed there? There were complaints that some of them were too young to go to a place inexperienced to deal with experienced bandits.
Those experienced are not just bandits. Some of them are former police officers who have retired or they were sacked. Some of them are military officers who, because of indiscipline, they were sacked. Some of them are deserters. These are people who are trained together with their colleagues who are currently serving. They understand all tricks. They understand all strategies. So if you pick a guy from college, a guy who has grown up in Nairobi all his entire life, and you are taking him to Suguta Valley, the guy, of course, will go there and he'll die. Because these people spend most of their time actually guarding their camps, because every night the camps are under attack. Actually, every time a new commander shows up, those posts must be attacked the entire night. So as carry on largely protecting the camps. And they're picked like flies. Officers have been killed in their camps. And sometimes you get the feeling that even these bandits just kill police officers for fun. They know they can't defend themselves. And officers have been sold fear that, you know, if you kill somebody, you're going to face IPOA. The best police officer in this country today is the one who doesn't use his firearm. Make sure that you don't use any bullet at all. Don't even carry a bullet in your gun so that you don't kill anybody. That's why if you check, all those officers who have died because of a bullet, the bullets ended through their back. It means that they were running away. That's the kind of situation we have. That's why bandits are so emboldened. They operate with very high levels of impunity, and they get political cover from their leadership. I'm not surprised that almost all leaders from that section, even those who are not elected on Kenya Kwanza, want to join Kenya Kwanza now, because they think they're going to get political cover. But I like what the president has said. I've looked at this body language. I believe he's made a resolve that this thing must end, and that it will end.
But when you said that this can only be handled by the military, were you saying then that the other officers were not experienced enough, or they are not equipped enough to deal with the magnitude of banditry?
They are not well equipped. To deal with that menace, you need helicopter gunships with the aerial capability not to dismantle these gangs, because the terrain in which they operate is very, very difficult. Unless you've got an aerial support that will ensure that these criminals are first of all hit from the air, and then now the infantry, the soldiers, police officers on foot can now move in. The police do not have that capability. That capability is only with the military. Those places, you tell your officer to walk in on foot, all of them will die because they'll walk into ambushes. And the way these characters operate, they'll keep quiet, hide in the caves, let these officers move in. So now they try to come out, they can't come out because they're all surrounded from all corners, and all of them are just killed like that. But with the military, I believe they're going to be given, like a carte blanche for them to be allowed to use whatever is at their disposal. And I believe our military is professional. Within 1 month, if they move in and move in properly with all the arsenal, knowing that, let them not think that dealing with the ragtag kind of situation. These are people who are battle-hardened, people who are prepared to take on the military, because we tried when I was RC and they took on the military. They fired at the military helicopters, they killed soldiers, and actually died with the government. But I was surprised the response was mute. It wasn't equivalent to the level of provocation that these people had done.
Yeah, Governor, before I take a quick break, you had mentioned earlier on that your calls weren't being picked. Is this one of the reasons why you decided to leave the security administration and get into politics now?
The main reason was that I remember there was a GSU officer Laikipia. And you know, we have got watchtowers there. So some of them do it at night, and then they, you know, in the morning they start thing called changeover. So during changeover, I think the guy was on air duty, slept a bit, and a bandit moved very close to that watchtower, about just 25 meters. So during changeover, this young man, 24-year-old Kamba boy, you know, after changeover, he went and sat on that thing up there, and he was shot in the head. And we could not even get an ambulance to transport that fellow to hospital. That boy, we tried all our means to get him to Medhill. Actually, we told the Medhill management to go and get that boy from Laikipia. And when I talked to them, to the hospital management, they told me it was going to be just be a vegetable, because the brains were out of his skull. But the worst thing, that my commander had already reported that the officer was dead. They never bothered to feed this guy in a hospital. And then I tried to call even Nairobi, nobody was picking my call. And I knew I cannot call the president to tell him that one boy has been killed. So I decided that I will not go to preside over the deaths of innocent people. I was quitting. Of course, I said I didn't even join politics or the shell on my mind. I was just leaving. I didn't even know where I was going, but I just said, I'm leaving. Guys, it was frustrating. And then you find elected leaders, some of those areas like Marakwet. People are always on radio stations, you know, talking nonsense, basically insulting you. They don't know what kind of challenges that we are going through. But let the president this time facilitate his officers and tell them, I've given you all these things. Guys, give me results in 30 days. And our president will get the results in 30 days. You should not listen to anybody. Otherwise, our people will continue dying.
All right. Governor, thank you. Stay with us. We'll come back to this discussion again proper during the town hall.